Hello, everybody. I'm Kristen.
And I'm Rachel.
And this is So I'm Watching Only Murders in the Building, Season 2, Episode 10. I Know Who Did It.
We finally know who did it!
And I don't think it was out of pocket.
No.
I think it worked.
I think they totally landed it.
Okay, cool. We basically, we picked up where we left off last week where they're in the diners, or no, they're,
Murder board.
And so they are trying to basically figure out a way to make Cinda confess.
Yes.
Because they're like, we have to like be able to make her confess. So they're shooting off. They have this whole thing about like what kind of things unravel, mysteries versus sweaters. And like Mabel had that really great line where she was like, are you both having a stroke or am I? Because they just kept, it was like a very who's on, like an elliptical kind of who's on first sort of thing. That was all very fun. There was a lot of stuff that was like off camera until we needed it, where it's like they ended up at the diner with Poppy trying to ask like what Cinda's like triggers are kind of. And it turns out they are very sincerely, I thought it was going to end up being, the slow motion especially was going to end up being like some kind of joke. Apparently her triggers are slow motion. She can't watch sports because of the like slow motion.
Instant replay. Yeah.
And the inside of tomatoes.
I mean, I'm not going to be like, but I mean.
Okay, if you really think about it, the inside of most food is kind of grotesque.
Yes.
So, I don't know. I cook. I'm a cooker. So I'm just sort of like, looks like a tomato to me.
Yeah, I mean, again, I'm not like over here like having a full conniption over it, but I mean, it's just, I could like kind of understand.
Like I sort of get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mabel has to take a phone call because the detective is on the phone with information about DNA from the knife. Because they called her and told her to run it for Cinda Canning's DNA. That's a little dicey because somebody in the like criminal system needs to have already obtained Cinda's DNA.
Did they ask specifically for Cinda's DNA or did they just say run the DNA? Because I don't think that the DNA has been run.
Okay, so they did. Well, it has now at that point because that's why Detective Williams was calling.
But so when they were like, we still have the knife. So I don't think they said run it specifically for Cinda's.
So when they were at the murder board, they did then. They were like, you should call Detective Williams and tell her to check for specifically Cinda.
Oh, okay.
But that would be so tricky because you'd have to already have a piece of Cinda's DNA to compare it to.
Right.
And unless she's been booked in the system at some point for like a violent crime,
right,
it's unlikely.
Well, and then that was also really dicey because Krebs would be notified, right?
Well, potentially, but I mean, he seems like a pretty bad cop anyway. He might not be checking all of it. Like we'll get there. So she gets the phone call and walks away from the table. And then fucking Poppy orders a really hellishly disgusting sandwich. Marmalade and liverwurst. First of all, I don't care for liver. I kind of like pate.
It's too salty for me.
Kind of. But that's also, usually pate is made from duck or goose liver, not beef liver. Liverwurst is made from beef liver, right?
Ew, I don't know.
I don't know. In New York City diner, I just assume they're serving like liver and onions. You know what I mean? Like that kind, and that's beef liver.
What
are you looking
is liverwurst made from? Liver, pork, onion, salt, ground meat, pork liver, black pepper.
So pig liver.
It doesn't say.
Maybe you can make liverwurst out of whatever.
They just say meat. Oh, beef or pork liver.
Okay. Yeah, I don't want to eat that.
Ew.
And then I extra don't. I feel like if you're gonna eat something like that, it needs to be fully savory.
Yeah.
I don't want marmalade.
No.
And I'm assuming orange marmalade, which I don't really care for either.
All of this sounds bad.
Yeah, just bad. And on a sandwich?
No.
Like, what are we doing? So,
and then we have the insides of a tomato. Make it full and terrible.
Well, you don't like tomatoes. I could eat a tomato like an apple, so it does not bother me at all.
You would physically bite into a tomato.
I wouldn't, but I eat entire tomatoes for funsies. I cut them in slices like an apple.
Well,
and then I just Yeah.
It's too soft. I can't.
Too soft?
Too soft.
Well,
mushy.
Bad tomatoes are too soft.
Yeah.
Good tomatoes are amazing.
Well, and you've awoken me to good tomatoes, but even I get to a point, like when you make your tomato bread, I'll get like a couple of pieces in and be like, there's so much tomato. I'm like, I think I'm done for a little bit.
It's amazing. Mabel comes back to the table and she says, I think I know what 14 Savage means, which was what Bunny said. And then we cut away from that. And so then, where do we go after that? Is that already to the like party, the killer party, the killer reveal party?
I think so.
Okay. So we get to Bunny's apartment. All of our various apartment dwellers are there. We've got her name's Uma, Jackie Hoffman, Ursula, the girl that works
the gut milk.
Yeah, with the gut milk. Marv, one of their fans.
I
Howard,
like that they included him.
Yeah,
I thought that was nice.
Howard, and the hot new boyfriend's name is Jonathan, who was a red herring.
Was completely a red herring.
Love it. I love that.
I got taken.
And then, so they're all together and they have all received a mysterious email. And so it's obviously from Charles and Oliver and Mabel, but they don't necessarily know that. And there is a running bit with two different people, Jonathan and then Cinda, who are like, is this a party in which the killer is revealed or a reveal party, which will also be killer? And it's very silly. So they are all there. Charles and Oliver and Mabel are like, we need your help. We're going to catch the killer, but like, we have to all pretend who has acting experience. Okay. This is truly incredible because a couple of them, like, Jonathan is a hyena in The Lion King. Howard auditioned for Joseph in the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. So funny. When he just starts singing
my God, it took me all the way out.
I lost my goddamn mind. And then what is his name? The doorman, Lester. He's like, yeah, I actually, I like moved here. I went to Juilliard. I started off Broadway with Tracy Letts. We're like, what? And he's like, and then I found my true passion was to be a doorman. And Charles is like, you're kidding. And he was like, yeah, of course I'm kidding. I like lost everything. I got a drinking problem. And then this is the first job I got. And I've been stuck here. It's so funny.
Yeah, he was great.
So funny. And then his like little bit later about Bunny was also bad because Oliver was like, you're amazing. I had such a good time watching this episode. I like,
it was very fun. It was really great.
So at one point, Alice just like slinks into the room.
Dressed in like blood red blazer.
It's as if she was a runway model and she knows how to wear clothes and walk.
Right? And just serve with her face without serving with her face.
Oh my God. She's also so hot. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So I noted that and I was like, that's weird. Like, why should Alice be there? And the fact that it was like they made a point to bring her in separately from everybody else. It was just very like prominent and it's for a point. And so then Cinda and Poppy show up and she's got her own audio stuff. She's like so terrible. Also, I just remembered where the episode actually opened up, which was with Poppy in Oklahoma as Becky Butler.
Yes.
Who was murdered. That was the Cinda thing we couldn't remember last week, but she was supposed to have been murdered. She has a dad who sucks. Who's at least a drunk, but could be also dying of something. He was just terrible. He threw food everywhere.
Man pain. We hate it.
Look for our upcoming merch. Also, she's working for the mayor, who also is terrible. Trying to like hit on her and like,
you can't say no to me forever.
Forever. Whilst he's drinking wine at the office out of what looks like he stole it from like a cheap steakhouse, like glass from like a cheap steakhouse. Whatever. So she basically then goes home and Googles how to disappear without
so no one can find you.
So no one can find you. And then she just takes it back to how do you disappear? And then she sort of pops up in
literally in Cinda's office.
Yeah. And she's like, hey, I heard about this girl who's missing in Oklahoma. And then like the all is not okay in Oklahoma, you know. And I do love that we also get that Cinda is just a fraud.
Oh, yeah.
In this episode where I think I said that exact thing in the finale of season 1, or like when we talked about season 1 a little, because she basically just is, when she's talking to Poppy, she's like, well, is she missing or is she dead? Because it's better if she's dead, and it's better if she was killed by the mayor so that we can like pin it on him, who they presumably did. That mayor is in prison. Which, I mean, he's a dirtbag. Does he deserve to be has he done anything to deserve to be in prison?
I mean, not for nothing. Probably.
But he certainly hasn't murdered a girl.
Yeah, exactly.
So regardless, that's where we open. And so we have her little, it's her voice, Poppy's voiceover this time. And it's a little Southern, little like an Oklahoma accent. And she's talking about like normal people and being miserable. And it was like pretty well presented, but I didn't retain any of it. So anyway, once they arrive at the party, they start going in on Cinda and how they like,
and they're live streaming.
They are live streaming. There's billions of views.
Yeah,
someone's got to share that with someone who like. They basically then Cinda starts talking, and they get to the point where they are squeezing the tomato in her face, and they are all moving in slow motion.
That was amazing.
Love the physical comedy from Steve Martin. We haven't gotten a ton of it in this show, and so it's nice to have that because that's like one of the things he's really known for. And so finally, Mabel is like, wait, she didn't do it. Like, that's why she's not reacting the way we want her to. And then she turns around and she says, you did it. She points at Alice. Okay. Her explanation too is sound, where she's like, you're an artist. You made the whole thing up. You needed this. You were there arguing with Poppy or with Bunny because you wanted the painting, but she was charging $14 million. That's why she said 14 Savage. And then Alice totally like loses it, grabs a knife, stabs Charles right in the gut. I was for sure that it was real.
Me too.
For that whole scene, only because I knew that Steve Martin recently said he wanted to retire. But then they immediately cut back to it, and Jackie Hoffman is just on the phone going, the police and the ambulance are 3 minutes out, and he's covered with a sheet. I was like, no. That was when so it was like, I was certain of it, and then I was like, there's no way. I was like, this is a fake out for sure. And it is. They've got Alice pinned on a chair and everything. And so they finally...
Really committing to the bit.
Yeah,
just calling people a twat. And like Mabel's was a boring, like...
Yeah. She
artist
draws
or whatever.
like a toddler.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, also, I believe that she might have just had that reaction to being called Australian anyway.
Yeah.
Because first of all, Cara Delevingne is English, but she's also French. So there's not an ounce of Australia in there. I just like, I have a pretty good ear for accents, I guess, like an above average ear for accents, but I don't know how you hear just British and think Australian.
I don't know either. Literally,
they're so different.
The only ones that I have to kind of like take a second and try to distinguish is Australian and New Zealand.
Sure, yes.
Because there is just a slight difference with the New Zealand.
Yeah.
And it's like the cadence, I think.
New Zealand is just a little weirder.
Yeah.
But I've gotten to the point where I can tell if you're from South London.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like,
and if you're from fucking Leeds, I'm like, yeah got it.
Gotcha. So it's all very good. We are basically, everybody is kind of like, it is like sort of fine or whatever. And then Cinda offers Mabel a podcast. And
it's brilliant.
It's so good. So good. And Poppy is like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, is it because she's pretty? Like, why her? I've been doing this. And then the dry cleaning thing. I drop off your dry cleaning and I pick up your dry cleaning and I drop off your dry cleaning and I pick up your dry cleaning. Why don't you just wear clothes that you can wash? I can't tell you how many dry clean only clothes I have that go straight in the washing machine.
Or I'm about to put myself on blast.
You just don't wash it. Yeah.
This jacket is dry clean only, which means it's dirty.
Just air it out a little bit. And then I'll finally get to the point where I'm like, I should probably do something about this.
Something, yeah.
But no, I will check to see if it's dry clean only. If it is, I'm like, I don't think I want it that much.
It depends, because I have some hand wash only things too, and I really am just like, go. I'm just like, go with God in the washing machine, and we'll see what happens.
I'll hang dry it. It's fine.
I'll definitely hang dry. I don't mind that.
Yeah.
That obviously is when Poppy hits the wall, and we find out that she's definitely the one that did it, and she starts sneezing because she's allergic to the bird.
Which, wild.
Yeah.
Completely wild.
They do molt, and so they must have something akin to dander.
Yeah.
I'm not totally sure. But that is when we realized that it was totally a red herring. Jonathan was a red herring. I love that. I love that for Howard.
Me too.
He deserves a hot hyena piece on the side. Get it? So that's all really great. And then basically we are like, the cops are there. Detective Williams is there. Detective Krebs is there, but he's handcuffed in the hallway.
When we were talking about it out there, Will said, they probably had to bring him along.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with that, because I think if they had tipped him off, he probably would have fled.
Okay.
So it was like, no, we have to go to this call, like blah, blah, blah.
Okay.
And so then when they were probably right outside the door, they probably read him his Miranda rights.
Him then.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it's awesome. That was a really killer reveal party.
Yeah, it was.
I thought it was absolutely spectacular. The whole thing, so much fun. Mabel and Alice seem on better terms now, which I like. I would love if Cara Delevingne popped back up a couple times. I think she's good as an actress. I think she has not found the correct role.
I agree.
For herself. Although she was pretty good in the movie Paper Towns, which was
she was decent.
John Green book.
Mm-hmm. I mean, she is nothing if not a manic pixie dream girl. So
yeah, and I think I do agree, but I think he writes an evolution of the manic pixie dream girl. Mm-hmm. It's like it's not early 2000s Zooey Deschanel. Yeah. It's different than that.
Yeah,
but yeah. I was like,
just a hipster version.
She is just like a cipher.
Yeah.
She feels like she's a cipher of a person, which is what that character was. Regardless, Valerian and the City of a Thousand Planets was terrible. So that is mostly it. I'd hope we get, who wasn't there was Nina. Nina was not there.
Yeah. I thought that was interesting because when they said she'll be here in an hour, I'm like, there are so many she's at this point, Nina included, that they could be talking about.
Anybody.
But I kind of wish that Nina had been there since she and Bunny were close.
Yeah.
It seemed like a missed opportunity.
Yeah, like also are we gonna pick back up with anything with Nina? It did feel sort of during the blackout, her and Lester, it did sort of feel like a finalized kind of thing or whatever, but I don't know. I guess we'll see. So yeah, everything's good. Mabel is going to actually finally start renovating the apartment. Like, where's her aunt? Is she not like...
Who knows? She probably moved to Florida.
Sure. Alice is helping her paint over her mural, which I'm sad about because that mural was tight. And then Oliver is worried about Mrs. Gambolini, so he calls his son, who I guess is a vet. I don't know if we knew that.
I don't remember that either.
But he's like taking a look at Mrs. Gambolini, and he finally he decides to come clean. So I guess Teddy then is not going to be the one who does anything. So he decides to come clean, and he's basically Will's like, I already knew. And he's like, how? And he says, I know all your tells.
Oh, love that.
It's so cute because it's like he taught him everything he knows.
Well, I mean, it's like when he said, he was like, if you're not my father, then I don't know what a father is.
It's lovely.
Yeah.
That's what I was like, what are you gonna do? Like, he's the man who raised you. And also, and Teddy wasn't making like overtures or anything. And it's sort of like, also, I don't think Teddy knew. I think Teddy knew it could have been a possibility, but I don't think Teddy was certain.
No.
Because they only had sex twice.
Yeah. But I mean, if you look...
And like twice in one night, he said.
Yeah. But I mean, if you look at Will and then look at Martin Short, I feel like I'd be like...
He's got a lot squarer face and jaw.
So then like think... I mean, the casting then with Theo, I think is pretty good because both of them have very square jaws and square faces. So I think that was really smart.
I agree. But that was just like a really lovely thing. And then while like after they have that little thing and he's still looking at the bird, he gets a call asking him to direct something.
On Broadway.
Love
to see it.
Love it. I couldn't tell what it was, if it was something real or if it was made up.
I was wondering if it was a American Werewolf in London or Paris or wherever that play is.
Sure. Okay.
Because he was talking about being a creature of the night. And then it's like the the lamps that you see always like on the River Thames and all of that.
All right. I'll allow it.
It's my guess.
And then we cut forward a year to opening night of the play. Charles is also in it. And Mabel is just pumped that there hasn't been a murder in a year. All the building people are there. And Lucy's helping on Brazos. That's the other thing.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
He got out of the wheelchair and his dementia's in remission.
I can't.
Just simply not how dementia works, unfortunately.
And he kind of asked out the makeup lady.
So cute. I'm glad we got Andrea Martin back because it felt like kind of a waste. Mm-hmm. And somebody made a comment to that effect in last week's episode. It felt like a waste just to have her in like one sort of throwaway scene earlier in the season. But she came back. They're going to dinner. So cute. Love to see it. So that was the other thing that I wanted to say about Detective Krebs and Poppy, which is that we should have guessed he wasn't talking about Cinda because that is a shockingly age-appropriate relationship for someone like Detective Krebs.
Yeah. Aw. Yeah.
Because her name is Adina Verson. She's been very good all season.
Yeah.
Poppy. I sort of hope that they have to go see her and Jan in the prison next season.
That would be hysterical.
Regardless, she's been incredible all season, but she is much younger than Michael Rappaport, who has to be in his 50s now.
I think so.
I didn't look it up, but I would imagine. And so that was, after it was revealed that they were the ones in the relationship, I was like, I really should have seen that coming.
Yeah.
There's no way he would be with like a woman who's the right age for him.
This is just because we're hopeful. That's just, you date within your pool.
Yeah, you just, come on. But the reason I brought that up is because Steve Martin and Andrea Martin are very close in age. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, so we cut forward a year. The star of Oliver's Broadway show is Paul Rudd, woo, playing someone called Ben Glenroy.
I mean, hilarious. I love it.
And evidently he and Charles have been butting heads, and they don't like each other. He's really channeling his like Wet Hot American Summer character plus Bobby Newport. It's all working very well. He's a wizard. He hasn't aged in 20 years. Oh, God. And then, so they're all sitting there. The play starts and he sort of gets out a couple lines and then he is like coughing up blood. It doesn't feel like he's stabbed, but he grabs his leg.
So I think that he must have, because we'll guess that it might be in the fog, but I think he might have drank something in his dressing room.
Okay.
And so it probably was poisoned in there. And so whatever poison that like, what organ is here?
I don't know, liver maybe?
Probably.
Your appendix is on your right side.
Yeah, but he held it lower.
Oh, and he was actually holding his left as well. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I don't know what's on your left.
I don't know. But so I think like he was coughing and then he kept like moving his mouth. And I don't know, he was technically doing vocal exercises, but like, I'm wondering if it was just kind of like, this is fucking weird. Yeah. Like, so, and it's just poison in slow motion.
Interesting. Mm-hmm. So we'll see. Charles was the last person alone with him, which is probably going to be part of the thing, is that they're going to be suspected again somehow.
Yeah.
This is also not going to be a murder in the building, so.
Interesting.
We'll see.
Yeah, and Charles says to him, stay away from her. I know what you did. And then Paul Rudd is like, oh, shit.
Do you think Lucy or Mabel?
Mabel.
Mabel?
Yeah. She would be dressed fancy anyway, but it felt like a little
too fancy.
Yeah.
A little extra fancy. Mm-hmm. A little extra fancy for a guy who is way too old for her as well.
I would throw anything and everything at Paul Rudd with my entire chest.
He's not too old for us.
That's true.
We are firmly in our 30s. She's actually, I think she is 30.
Isn't she like 30? They're all catching up now.
God damn it. Selena Gomez is 30 years old.
Yeah. All right. That's still kind of pushing it for Paul Rudd.
He's like 54. Yeah.
So hot.
He has, I don't usually go for it. He has the most captivating hazel eyes.
Oh, yeah.
I've ever seen. Mm-hmm. They're very a good killer.
I like his smile lines.
Oh, and his crow's feet.
Yeah. So hot.
All right. So, yeah. That's supposedly... if he's actually dead, I suspect we'll get flashbacks with him.
Yeah.
So that we, like, get Paul Rudd on this show. But I am super pumped for season 3. This episode was also directed by Jamie Babbitt again. She's been doing gangbusters. Love her. Yeah. That was pretty much it. Really good season. I do think they tied it together well. I
agree. And I don't feel like I was pelted with information. Like it didn't feel too heavy. I do still feel like we did a lot of work to get here. A lot of jazz squares.
Sure.
But I really like that I was on my toes and I had no fucking idea the entire time.
It was not until like the minute before that I was like, there's no way it's actually Alice. Why would she have come to this part? Like, party.
Oh, and we didn't say what Poppy said specifically, but that gave her away. And she was like, about the sneezing. And she was like, what, you're going to believe a girl who lives in the walls?
That's right.
Yeah. And then they were like, how would you know?
Only the murderer would know that there was a girl hiding in the walls that night because it was Lucy that like witnessed her. Really good.
Very, very good.
I really liked it. Satisfying. So I do sort of agree with you, although about the jazz squares, although I do like the like extra personal stuff that we got. And I do like that some of the jazz squares were like about Lucy specifically. And I liked getting all that extra stuff about Lucy. And yeah, I don't know. I think it feels so purposeful that I don't... Like, it doesn't make me mad. Like, I agree that we could have gotten some stuff sprinkled a little sooner, but I do think that it's such a deliberate story.
Yeah, I agree.
So, yeah.
For a sophomore outing for this show, I'm very satisfied, for sure.
I am literally shocked that it was as good as season 1.
Yeah.
That's almost never, especially with mystery shows. Because they're always trying to top themselves. Yep. And it hardly ever works. But I think it worked.
I agree.
So we'll see who killed Paul Rudd in, I don't know, maybe like a year.
I'm excited.
Bye.
Bye.